feel like we've met like 17 times already. I know I said that earlier. It's just you've been around for a minute, man.
I definitely have been around since I think 2018 is kind of when I started doing all this. And definitely, I've seen you out and about. It's just never really had that verbal conversation face to face yet.
Yeah. What's you're from Ontario?
Yes.
You grew up here in Ontario.
In Niagara Falls.
In the Niagara Falls area. Okay. I mean, it's not so rare for great country musicians to come out of our province anymore. It's not that rare anymore. You know, there's a lot of people who are, you know, we got more recently like Owen Riegling and stuff, but Rec Laws, and it's what was your introduction? I'm interested in knowing who introduced you to country music. Why did you kind of stick to the genre?
I was definitely introduced by my father, who he played football at the University of Tennessee, and since I was a kid, I always listened to like Hank Williams Jr. and George Strait and those kind of artists. So I was always introduced at an early age to country music, I would say.
Your dad played football. Did you play football as well?
I did. In high school, I was a quarterback, and my dad was a tight end, so he used to kind of, his eye would twitch a little bit when he found out I was the quarterback of the team. He's like, "You play quarterback? You're soft, man." But
really?
yeah, for sure. But it was a cool position. I always liked quarterbacks. I had a pretty decent arm.
Okay, just a little side, if you don't mind, take a detour with your dad's football career, because I love that idea. Was your dad from Ontario as well?
Yeah, he was from Burlington, Ontario.
From Burlington. How did he end up? Like, he was just a good football player. He ended up going to Tennessee.
Yeah, he went to Aldershot, where the school that Jim Carrey went to, actually. So Jim Carrey was my dad's backup paper boy, which is even wilder.
Yes, it is.
So as a kid, like, I was a huge Jim Carrey fan. When Ace Ventura came out, it was just the craziest time.
Oh my God.
And I remember my grandmother sending him like a handwritten letter saying, "Hey, Jim, you better send me, my grandkids' autographs."
Yeah.
And I used to have stacks of Jim Carrey's autographs, go to elementary school, hand them out. I was the coolest kid in school sometimes.
So Jim did? He came through because of grandma threatened him?
Yeah, he actually did. My grandmother, I guess, used to play cards with his parents like every Friday. So there was a kind of a history there. It's pretty wild.
I love everything about this. I love your grandmother. I love Jim Carrey for doing it. That's amazing.
Yeah, so the 90s were really cool. When Jim Carrey came out and Ace Ventura, that was my all-time. I think to this day, I could probably quote every line from that movie.
That's incredible, man. Okay, so your dad goes to school down there. That's a big deal. I mean, like, going to school in the States, going to school in Tennessee, football culture, massive down there. Your dad must have been good.
Yeah, he was a pretty good player, especially a tight end. There's not, like, especially in Canada, they don't really use tight ends in the CFL. So that was his biggest thing when he got drafted in the CFL.
Yeah.
He had to become an offensive lineman, which was put on some weight, buddy.
Yeah,
and,
I got you.
If you're not used to carrying that weight, it's pretty hard to do.
And who did he play for here at the CFL?
Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was a first-round pick. I think he was like 6th overall, 5th overall, or something like that. So.
Was his football career done when you came along?
Yes.
It was,
yeah.
Okay.
So my sister, who's a couple of years older than me, 4 years older than me, she got to see a little bit of, Pat Langdon in full prime, but I got the entail of it, I guess.
I love it. So how does Dad feel about you being a musician, an artist?
He loves it, because it's something I've always kind of been, like, since I was a kid, I've always been that center of attention type kid, like jump on a table, dance around. And my parents have always been, like, really good at embracing that, like, understanding that this is how my kid is. And my dad's always been like, if this is something you want to do, go do it. So he would, throw me up on a coffee table, go ahead, sing in front of the family. And my family is big critics. If you can play in front of those people, you can play in front of a million people, no problem.
So they've given you some constructive criticism over the years. They've been like, dude, not that one, not that song, not that video, not that haircut, whatever.
Absolutely. Or like you're on stage and something happens. They're like, what happened there? And you're like, what do you mean? What happened where? And they would pinpoint the exact moment. And you're like, I didn't think anybody noticed that.
It's like watching game tape.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I've always liked that, though. I like honesty, and constructive criticism it's a part of life. And I think you got to be able to handle it, right?
Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but there are so many examples of people who have excelled in country music who have done really well in athletics at some point in their life. In fact, I realized at one point it was more the rule than the exception. You know, guys like Brett Young and Brian Kelly from Florida Georgia Line, Sam Hunt, all these guys have backgrounds in high level, what's baseball or football or whatever, right? Like, a lot of people are able to take maybe the discipline or the structure, the ability to deal with adversity, that you know, everybody's kind of pushing towards a similar goal. Take those things that you learn when you're involved in athletics and transpose them over into the world of music and the hard work that it takes and the rejection that you have to get used to and all of that stuff, right? The loss that you have to be able to get used to. Maybe did you have a bit of an experience with this? Do you see kind of the correlation there?
Absolutely. I played college baseball in the U.S. too, so that was kind of my bread and butter before I started doing music. So to have, go through the process of how hard it is to make it over there and understand that baseball is a game of failure. You're going to fail more than you succeed. And the music industry is like that, especially at first. Like, I've been doing live music for, 10 plus years now, playing a lot of stages and in front of a lot of people. And it's taken some time to get to where I want to be, and still working there every day. But I think sports in general has really helped my brain wrap my head around, okay, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to take some time, go through the process, and, live one day at a time, essentially.
College. So you were good enough at baseball to get into a U.S. college.
Yep. So I went to school in Buffalo. I went to community college in Buffalo, New York, and it was, some of the best years of my life. I had a blast.
I bet.
It was met my best friends over there. Like, I call Buffalo like my second home, essentially. I think I spent more time in my early 20s over there than I did over here.
Was the Jays farm team there when you were there?
No, it
Not
was
yet.
still the New York Mets, I believe.
Okay.
So, yeah, it would have been nice.
That's all right, man.
Yeah,
Whatever. Yeah,
for sure.
That's cool. Would you play in baseball?
I was a third baseman. I started off as an outfielder.
So
but
you got a cannon.
Yeah, a decent arm. Like, I was a right fielder, so my arm was kind of always my bread and butter, essentially.
A right fielder and a third baseman. He's got a cannon.
Yeah, and I hit home runs. That was my job. Hit home runs and yeah.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
I interview musicians for a living. I always get starstruck by the athletes. I'm like, you can do what? You can hit a home run.
Yeah, that was my bread and butter. I always, I tried to. As I got a little more into college, my coaches were like, "Hey, we need you to hit for higher averages, so you kind of shorten your swing up a little bit and try to hit for 400. That's all they want, because you're using aluminum bats. It's a little easier to hit 400 in college than it is in the pros." So
I got you. All right, well, I dig into baseball with you forever. I coached my kids' AA U13 team, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah. We'll dig into that after. Okay, let's talk about music right now. Give me an idea about where you stand. I know you've released a bunch of singles. You've got a brand new one we'll talk about called "Crushing Cans." But what's the Ryan Langdon experience all about?
It's just having a good time. Like, I've always been about like writing music that makes people want to have a good time, spend time with their friends, family, and just enjoy life. That's kind of what I'm all about.
Yeah. It's sometimes it can be so simple, right? Like, get out of your own way. Let's have a good time. But simple's hard. So, like, if you're trying to capture simple ideas, like having a good time and partying and stuff, there are a lot of examples of songs about that exact thing out there. So how do you make sure you're charting your own path?
It's definitely, you got to go through like life experiences and like I said earlier with you, and we were talking about college. When you're in college, you have a good time, and you spend a lot of time crushing back some cans and whatnot. But you just take life experiences and try to find songs. I've always been about the hook. The hook has to be there. That's like the bread and butter, most important thing. And finding something that's just relatable and to everyone it's hard, but I think it's when you do it, it's awesome.
Are you a guy that starts by yourself? Do you come up with the ideas by yourself and then let other people in to collaborate with?
Sometimes I find a lot of my ideas come from like hooks that I'm like in the shower or like driving to Toronto from Niagara Falls or whatever.
Yeah.
I always find those hooks come to me just out of nowhere. And then,
like, so the car's silent, you're not listening to anything, and you just start like
for sure
singing some notes together?
Absolutely.
I've done that, and I'm not even a songwriter.
I feel like that's like the number one way I find I write music is through that way. But then working with, great producers and great writers always is really cool when you have that idea in your head and you get in a room with those people and they're like, man, that's a cool idea. What if we did this? And then it just takes it to the next level, and you have a song in like a couple hours. It's pretty awesome.
Okay, so do you have a quote unquote record deal right now?
I'm with Slate Music right now.
Slate Music. Okay, so that's a Canadian organization
for sure
that's been around for a long time. They very, very generously like to support lots of different aspects of the Canadian music industry, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I've been with them for 7 years now, so it's been a great experience. They've been amazing.
So as an independent artist, then we'll call you like technically an indie artist out there kind of doing your own thing. And do you go out and find your own music? Do you write your own music?
Absolutely. I try to write everything that I put out. We've had moments where we've taken co-writes from other writers and whatnot if we think the song's kind of perfect for me or whatnot. But I feel like writing my own music is kind of where I want to be.
Yeah.
Because it's your music.
Especially
it's really
when
cool
people
when
are getting to know you and getting introduced to you, right? If their first experience of hearing a song is they know it came from you, it's a great way to like really truly be honest with somebody, right?
Absolutely. And I think if you've heard my stuff, you can kind of tell that it's probably from me because I'm always in the same world. Like I said, my songs are just about having good times and being a little loud.
So Crushing Cans is obviously about depression.
Yeah, it's a love song. That's what I call it. It's a love song. And it might not be the love song that you think it is, but to me, it's a love song.
Give me what was this a thing that you'd said with your friends when you heard the? I mean, maybe it's something that you said a bunch of times, and just in one particular instance, when it came out of your mouth, you're like, hold on a second, write that down.
Well, actually, so I wrote it with Jim Witter and Andrew Martino, who's the drummer for Dow with Webster. So we wrote it, and it was just like. I had a song years ago that was called Lit in the Sticks, and it was kind of a party anthem, and we've always been trying to kind of replicate something that sounded familiar to that song. And Jim Witter came into the right. He's like, hey, I have this idea. It's called Crushing Cans. I'm like, love it. Let's start writing it. And the hook just kind of like wrote itself. I think it took us a couple hours. And
don't say it wrote itself. You wrote it.
Yeah, like I just mean
don't give the gods credit.
When you write something you're happy about, and it's like something that's like right in your world. I don't want to say it's easy because it's not, but I feel like the process is just way smoother.
It's not a struggle.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Honestly, talking to people who write songs for a living for as long as I've been doing it, often it'll shock me. I still get shocked when like there will be a hit, that has transformed somebody's bank account, somebody's emotional stability, whatever it might be in the world, and people will be like, yeah, it took about 45 minutes to write that in a thing. I mean, it took a little time to tweak and smooth the edges and stuff, whatever. But yeah, that came together pretty quickly. I'm like, really? And songwriters are out there pulling their hair out over a particular idea they're trying to get at, but sometimes. Like songwriters have to get out of their own way and just let it happen.
For sure. And then there's moments like even with Crushing Cans, we wrote this song. We thought we had it, and then there was like minor melodic tweaks that we made down the road that made the song even better. The great thing is about when you write a song, it doesn't have to be the finished product. Sometimes it's good to write something, step away from it for a couple days or a couple weeks, and then come back to it, and you'll be amazed how much things will change, but in like a positive way, because you think of cooler ideas when you have a fresh mind on it, right? So I always find that's the best way. Write it, sit back a couple weeks, and then go back to it and see if there's anything you want to change about it. And we did that for Crushing Cans, so we kind of made it better in a sense, I think.
You've played it in front of live audiences already?
Yes.
And the people who've like maybe not heard it before and they get to hear it the first time, is it like something that people grab onto right away?
Absolutely. It's got some familiarity to it, right? It's got a very like 80s kind of drum beat to it. So essentially when you hear it, you're like, I feel like I've heard this before, even though you haven't. So that's what we kind of wanted to create, that anthem feel. When you hear that drum off the top, you're like, oh, okay, this is familiar. So I think people, when they hear it, this is about having a good time, and it makes people want to move, which I love. Man,
you can pay homage. That can be a comfortable sonic environment to live in. Like I love that when I hear that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. There's a song. Is it Russell Dickerson's new song? It sounds like. Oh God, I'll play the back end of it right now.
Girls just want to have fun. Is that?
No. I'm not going to remember the name of it. It sounds like the soundtrack to a John Hughes movie in the 80s. The sound that he uses, Crosby. I'm going to play it. I'll play it when we're finished this. I'm just like, it sounds like this is not an accident.
Yeah,
that whoever the producer was sitting in that room in Nashville that day chose that particular thing. So you're working with people. You know what you like to do. You know what your lane is. The Ryan Langdon experience, as I'm calling it right now, is about having fun, is about letting go, and just like celebrating music and life with your friends.
Absolutely. You know what? Like life is short. It doesn't take us serious, so why take life serious, right? Like that's the way I look at it. It's like, we're all living life, trying to get somewhere, and just enjoy it, right? Enjoy the process. I know sometimes it can be hard out there. It can be a struggle. So I always want to create music that just allows people to kind of forget about their problems for just like a couple minutes, right? So,
all right. Well, seeing you live is obviously the way to do it. Now everybody can't see you live, but we're going to get you to play Crushing Cans for us. Is that cool?
Absolutely, I'd love to.